Hello everyone, I am here to present my thesis Urban Planning for Addressing Vulnerability and Resilience in the Context of Urban Warfare, a case of Tawang Town, Arunachal Pradesh, done as part of my Masters in Urban Planning. So, the aim of my thesis was to examine the potential of planning cities with passive defense strategies. I had three objectives. First, to develop an understanding on how war and urban planning can be interrelated in the first place. To achieve this particular objective, I started with exploring how war has evolved over the years. I studied the vulnerability that exists in an urban development and tried to look into cities that have faced urban warfare in the past and how they have showcased resilience to it. The fourth part of this particular objective mainly dealt with the action points uh, that we can consider based on passive defense strategies. Second objective was to assess the baseline condition of the town, followed by giving out proposals for the same. So the first objective mainly dealt with literature review, analyzing the case studies and formulating guidelines. Second objective was about preparing the data checklist, secondary data collection, primary data collection that involved the survey, and doing multiple assessments that to identify the gap and vulnerabilities that exist in the urban development of the chosen site. The third objective was about looking into case studies to see the type of resilience strategies that the other cities have inculcated, and finally giving out recommendations for our study area. So the survey included 60 people ranging from the age group of 19 to 70 years. During my survey, I spoke to multiple stakeholders like the assistant town planner, the district urban development agency, got an opportunity to speak to few military personals, water resource department, and most important, the localites to get an idea of how they perceive the place and learning about the place and their problems. uh, so, coming to the evolution of war, battlefields have changed over the years. Earlier, people used to agree to meet at a particular site and then they used to fight their battles. But with industrialization and invention of long range weapons, battlefields extended way beyond enemy lines. So now the entire country's population and infrastructure became valid targets, and war has become global and it is everywhere now. And so the future of war is definitely urban because cities, as we know, are political and economic centers, and with the increase in urbanization, in the future, whatever people are going to fight for and the people who will be controlling it, they'll all be located in cities only. So then I just looked into what attracts war to cities. Basically, I selected a few cities like Guernica, Spain, Stalingrad, Kharkov. These are cities that have faced urban warfare during the First and the Second World War. And all the three cities for this instance, like they are largest industrial centers, they had good proximity to natural resources, they had prominent transport links. So all these things are very important for a conqueror to invade and take control of those areas. So these are the reasons that made them potential targets. And if you see, cities are designed to provide you all these things, so naturally cities and urban areas, they become a potential target to conquer and invade the areas. So the vulnerabilities of any urban development can be categorized into three: critical targets, soft targets, and hard targets. Critical targets are basically infrastructure that helps a city moving, functioning, like transportation infrastructure, water, oil, gas, energy, emergency infrastructures. And soft targets are public infrastructures that anybody can access to. Hard targets are embassies, military camps, they are usually protected. So all the studies that they led me to the concept of passive defense. Passive defense is when you uh, take the non-military measures to reduce vulnerability of an area. That is the concept actually, and the consideration, the implication of passive defense can be at two levels: large scale and small scale. Let's take an example of what I mean by large scale considerations. Like for example, a linearly planned city like Kerala. there would be some strengths, some weaknesses, and some action points attached to it. For example, the strengths would be that the cost of attacks for such kind of urban fabrics increases, and in a way casualties would reduce. But there are multiple weaknesses also, like since it is dependent on one single spine, the blockage of that particular route would lead to congestion and blockage in general. And often this pattern is seen that there is high density along the roads in a linearly planned city, so that would in a way create more damage to property. Water and gas distribution system are also in the form of dead end and tree like system, which you know if the primary supply line gets broken, water will not reach to other parts of the area. So that is a vulnerability. So the action points here would be that if we increase the number of linear passages, the problem might be solved to some extent. We can also try to plan that the important structures are not placed close to the major road networks. They spatial layers needs to be created on what needs to be planned where. Small scale form based consideration, on the other hand, are at a much smaller micro level, not at a city and urban fabric level. Using dissimilar patterns, homogeneous structure, all these things that helps conceal the targeted vulnerable infrastructures to some extent. And I would like to stress on it that passive defense, uh, a very important part, a very important consideration in this is about stressing on alternative sources. What if the primary mode of water supply fails? So how will the city function? What is the plan B? So it is always about alternatives. So that is a very important consideration. Coming to the site, so the reason that I chose Tawang, which is located in Arunachal Pradesh in the northeast of India, uh, the reason is that China has always laid territorial claims over the entire Arunachal Pradesh. They consider it to be theirs. Uh, Tawang is a border town which was invaded in 1962's Indo-China War, and it also provides a very strategic advantage. So it is one of the tri-junctions between China, India, and Bhutan. So many conflict analysts have summarized this that the reason there is a potential to border conflict is basically because China has routinely protested the visits of top Indian officials into the state. It recently also it has standardized names, which is a strategy actually from their side. The recent land borders law that they passed basically legitimizes its claims over the disputed territories that it has. We can see a very heavy defense buildup in the northeast region pre Doklam, post Doklam, and post Ladakh crisis. So this tells us that there needs to be something in mind for all the infrastructure buildup that is happening. And many conflict analysts also suggested that these recoronation has also heightened some kind of a mistrust between the two countries because of his tendency to have a regional supremacy. So the first layer of infrastructure vulnerability assessment that I tried to do was walkable accessibility, ensuring that infrastructures that are often converted as makeshift shelter spaces, they are walkably accessible, which includes hospitals, schools, recreational areas, etc. So, as you can see from here, there are a lot of gaps that still exist and which we cannot afford if we are trying to make it a war resilient city. Also tried to assess the transportation infrastructure, saw that the road networks are very narrow and there are congestion because of on-street parking. There are narrow roads that ends in a dead-end pattern, and the water supply infrastructure is also in a dead-end kind of a pattern. So basically this what is just to summarize uh, the strengths that the city has, the weaknesses, and areas in which we can work on further. Uh, then the next set of assessment that was done was based on passive defense principles. So such principles are very commonly used in military combat operations: camouflage, concealment, deception. all these are terminologies and concepts that are used in operations like that. So I tried to incorporate those into the urban planning discipline, and tried to assess the city based on that. For example, if you look into the two sketches here, uh, since this building is very different from the other two, it is very easily noticeable. So imagine if this is a vulnerable or a infrastructure that is often targeted, that can be a beneficial target for the invader, it would be very easily visible to them. Whereas if such kind of an infrastructure was planned over here, nobody would very easily understand which infrastructure, which building to be targeted. So if we follow a set pattern in a single urban stretch, then we can to some extent omit the visibility of vulnerable infrastructure like that. To give you another example, just look at the aerial view of the township in Tibet. You will not be able to identify a single infrastructure and say that this is an infrastructure that is worth targeting. You will not be able to locate any institutional building or anything like that from the aerial view at least. Whereas if you look into the aerial view of Tawang town, it is very evident because the residential areas are very closely packed to each other, the buildings. But the institutional buildings, if you can see here, the gaps between the two buildings are huge. And even with the site plan, it is very evident that it has to be some important structure. So the concept, the principle here is, the harder it is to identify a particular target, the better camouflage it is. Similarly, for concealment, it is hiding important infrastructure from the invaders' line of sight. I tried to do a linear line of sight analysis and a radial line of sight analysis for that. The observer points were considered based on the highest points of the township and based on the roads that leads from the border to the township. So considering that, what all infrastructure can we see from the highest point over here? So such assessments gives me an idea that I get a blackout spot over here. So this particular infrastructure here is not visible from any of the highest points of the township. So with this, I can plan something strategic over here, which can help me to make the area more resilient. This particular map here, with this, the red areas shows these are the areas which are not visible from the highest points of the township, so I can plan things in these areas strategically like that. Unconcealed pipelines are also a vulnerability that exists in the township, which can be very easily concealed within the terrain. The communication towers, there are countries who have adopted different ways to conceal their towers, maybe because of aesthetic purposes, but we can definitely do it for resilient measures also. Dispersion is something we cannot stress on more, because it is always better, instead of having one CBD, to distribute it, so that if even if one gets targeted and gets damaged, the rest can sustain the city. Similar assessments were done for deception, multifunctionality, accessibility, and separation. For accessibility, you can see here that the roads that are coming from the border to the township are wider compared to the roads that are leaving the township. So basically, this is a problem because during evacuation, most of the people from this township would be leaving the township, and it would not be able to hold such large amount of traffic, and congestion would happen, chaos would happen, and this needs to be pre-planned, and this such assessments needs to be done to ensure that these scenarios are avoided. Now, coming to the recommendations, obviously, since I'm talking about war resilient city, it is important to have shelter spaces. So this is just a demonstration on how I came up to marking the shelter spaces here, and also mentioned the population each of the shelter spaces would cater to, giving out some examples of countries who have such nicely camouflaged, concealed shelter spaces for civilians, civilian bunkers, etc. Suggested to have a looped and heated water supply network because, like I mentioned, if the primary line gets broken, then water will not be reaching to the other parts of the city, and it is important to have such critical infrastructure flowing to help the city, functioning. uh, also try to look upon the water system alternatives that we have. There are natural streams nearby, we can very easily bring in water like we used to do previously through aqueducts and everything, like bringing it and storing it somewhere, so that when the water treatment plant or water supply system existing one gets broken, this would be a plan B for them to access water. Evacuation routes were delineated. Bottleneck widening is very important in this case, at least for the evacuation routes for the time being, because a 6-meter wide road merging into a 1 to 2 meter wide road is always a problem. To decongest the road, we need to have more and more off-street parking spaces, because right now with narrow roads there are on-street parking happening over there. So certain policies are suggested as part of the thesis. Urban food security is also touched upon because it was seen that there is still some kind of a dependency from nearby areas for vegetables and fruits to some extent, which can be avoided if we start with some outreach programs and urban farming measures into the city, so that in case of lockdown also the town can function on its own. uh, Transportation infrastructure right now focuses on a very private mode. It is a private transportation that works over there, and very much costlier. So in line with the master plan, it is suggested that we opt for a more public oriented transportation approach, which is more affordable and more eco friendly. Urban camouflage policy is another proposal that was suggested, similar to what Barcelona, Spain has, Guangzhou, China has, basically ensuring that at least a particular urban stretch should look alike to hide important infrastructures like that. Comprehensive plan needs to be in place, which details out on every passive defense considerations that we have talked about so far. Highlights the agencies that would be responsible for it, the regular checks that would be needing in the city. So all those plans needs to be documented, and we need to have a comprehensive plan specifically for this. Alert system, by alert system I don't mean to just have a notification pop up about a potential threat, but an alert system can be so advanced also that it can also lead you to the nearby shelter space as well. I also tried to touch upon how to diversify the local economy, because while studying about the place, I got to know that there are many other potential for it to be economically, independent and more stable. So when I'm talking about resilience, economic resilience is also something that I wanted to touch upon, because I feel that is also a very important aspect for a town to grow and to be able to inculcate the resilience strategies also. It is important that they are economically sustaining themselves. So these are some of the suggestions for that. And coming to the existing land use and the proposed one, so the major changes where that the commercial areas are more dispersed. It needs to be more dispersed instead of one CBD. More residential area, obviously, because we are planning for 2041. More public and semi-public spaces, because shelter spaces need not to be independent spaces, because public and semi-public spaces needs to be developed in such a way so that they can be makeshift shelter spaces also very easily. We need to develop them like that only. So this needs to be a signature of any resilient, war resilient city. More public and semi-public space. So other than that, civic shelters, vegetation buffers, and more open spaces are important, are very much crucial for accommodating rescue relief operations. I just wanted to touch upon the basic and very tentative approximate uh, investment that would be required to make the city resilient. So, around with 354 crores, the township can be made more resilient to some extent. And I started my study with a few indicators in mind that with this, the city can be made more resilient. And at the very beginning, there were some things that were covered, but many were, not covered in the city. So, through my proposals and my recommendations, I ensured that all the indicators that we started this project with are met. And the effort is that I want Tawang to emerge as a city that not only embraces the natural characteristics that it has, but also showcases a war resilient character. And the idea of this research was want this research to act as a blueprint uh, to help assess other border towns and make them more war resilient. Thank you.